Hello and welcome! This is Mouse Gunner, and I'm going to be continuing my first impression series by taking a look at a new game, Winds of Trade. Full disclosure, I did receive a key for this game from the developer. Now, what is Winds of Trade? Well, the title hints at this. It's about sailing, and it's about trading. So let's just go ahead and jump right into a new game and see what there is to see. Now, starting off, you get to choose a company name, which I've already chosen, Mouse Guns and Sons. You get to choose a difficulty. It defaults to easy, which starts you with $20,000, and pirates attack you very rarely. Going to medium will halve the amount of money you start with, and pirates will attack more frequently. Going to hard halves that amount again, and pirates will attack still more frequently. And then impossible, you're almost having it. You're going to 3,000, and pirates will attack you all the time. We're going to go with medium because I feel like any less starting money than this kind of makes things slow to develop, a little bit harder to develop. You're more or less forced to take a loan, in my opinion, to get going. You can choose a company color. It goes from red to red, and you have things in between, yellows, greens, oranges, blues, purples, so on. We'll just go ahead with green. It doesn't really matter. Your next choice is your ship, which you get to name. I've named it the Mouse, and you get to choose 3 ship types. Now, I would like to point out that this game is fully released. One thing I saw a lot in the Steam reviews on the store page for this game is people saying it had a lot of promise. Well, it's fully released. It doesn't have promise. It's out. If it was in early access, it would have promise. Now, yes, it can still be developed just like an early access game could, but you don't have that guarantee from the developer that that will continue. With an early access game, at least you have that promise put forward by the developers that the promise will be put into the game. This, again, it's hard to say one way or the other. And you don't have the same shield of criticism you would have if it was an early access. Honestly, an early access game is just as open to criticism as one that is fully released, but at least with that one, you have the developer telling you that they're still working on it. In any case, with these 3 ship choices, I would like to draw a parallel with another game, Sid Meier's Pirates. Probably a comparison I'll draw frequently in this video, and how I feel that this starting choice is maybe not the best balanced. So if you were playing Pirates, Sid Meier's Pirates, you would get a choice of a ship based off of what nation you chose. So if you chose the French, you would have a French ship. If you started the Spanish, you'd get a set ship. If you started the Dutch, you'd get a set ship, so on. With this, you get a choice of 3 ships. And you might think, well, that's more or less the same. But the problem is the ships vary pretty widely. So you have the Brig, which is kind of your catch-all ship. Has a cargo capacity of 150 tons, it has a max speed of 11 knots, and it has max cannons of 16. If you look at the schooner, you have 80 tons, so almost half cargo capacity. Your cannons are also halved with 8, and your max speed is at 15 knots, so almost doubled. So you're doubling your speed and almost having everything else on the ship. Then you have your galleon. 400 tons starting cargo capacity. That is dramatically more than the schooner, 5 times as much. Speed is at 8 knots, so it's almost half as much. As a matter of fact, I said double the speed here. That's not actually quite true because the Brig is 11 knots. I was thinking of the galleon with 8 knots speed, and your max cannons is at 24. So you're tripling the number of cannons, you're having the number of speed, but you're making your cargo capacity 5 times as much. Now, there is an advantage to that speed, and there's also an advantage of having a smaller ship, mostly in smuggling. But in my opinion, the galleon is just so much better for the main aspect of this game, trading, that I think that this is the clear choice, at least in my mind. So I'm going to choose that. You get to choose victory conditions. You can do that between having a net worth of $1 million, so whoever has that wins. There's going to be AI competitors when you're playing, competitor companies. You have a marathon, so after a set time, whoever has the highest net value wins. So again, net worth here. You have conquest, be the last company standing, have all the other companies go bankrupt. And then you have sandbox, which has no objective. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that so we don't have to worry about it. Now, this game is procedurally generated and set in a fictional world. So again, the comparison between Sid Meier's Pirates In Pirates, you have the game based in a historical setting. Now, how historical it is open to debate, but at least you're set in the real world and you get to choose between different time periods. That's not the case with this game. I don't think time period really has a factor in this game at all, and the world that you're in is completely fictional and it's procedurally generated every time. So, all right, so we've generated in here, and we can see our ship right here in front of the town Christchurch. Let's just go ahead and go over the interface. So if we go and take a look at the upper right here, we have our company and the color green that we have selected beforehand, our starting cash, which was selected by our difficulty, and the date. Again, I don't think this has any factor or any bearing on anything. Over in the lower left, we have our mini map, and from what I've seen, every start I've ever played, you have more or less 4 islands, just like what we have here. Now, the towns that are on the map and their locations are different. The nations involved, I think, are different every time, but mostly you have 4 islands, and they're going to be distributed. Again, different, slightly different every time, but the main composition is the same. We have the winds coming in, how fast they're coming in, and the direction they're coming in. I don't think this game behaves in any fashion like you would have in real world, where you'd have prevailing winds. I think that the winds shift pretty much all the way around at any given time. We have what type of ship we have selected, how much I think it's costing us per month. Now, there's a tutorial in this game, but it's not very thorough, and there's a lot it does not cover. I went through all of the tutorial, and I'll tell you, if it goes over a third of this game, that would be saying much. How fast it's going right now? Well, we're not moving, so it's not going any speed. And then how many cannons you have? So 8 of the 24 maximum that we could possibly have. We have how many hit points it currently has, its current cargo hold, so there's nothing in it right now. What its name is, we could rename it. We can center our camera on it, and as it moves around with that selected, our camera will move with it. And over in the lower right, you have a number of buttons. Now, these buttons will do various tasks. Now, how I selected my ship initially was I hit idle ships. You can't have more than one ship in this game, and you can also have captains. So if you look at the captain list, that's that. And let's go ahead and jump into the town first. So if I click on Christchurch, we have its window open. You start at the warehouse. This is where you can buy and trade goods. This is the main element of the game. If you hover over the price of any given good, you get an idea of what kind of prices you can see from this good. So we know that beer is being sold at the highest price in Christchurch, at least from what we know of the world. Some of these prices may be based upon rumors, so we may not have a solid idea of what kind of prices we can expect. But beer is being sold here. There's only 1 ton of it, so it's not a lot. But it's also being sold at the highest price in the world that we're in right now. We have sugar. And again, this is being sold for a fairly high price, because the highest price we see is 37, the average is 31, and the lowest price is 24. So this is probably not a good for us to purchase here. Tobacco here, again, is not being sold maybe as high up as the other goods we see here, and it's in more abundance. So this is probably a good that's being produced in this town. But there's definitely places where it's being sold for less, so we could pick it up and then sell it on for more of a profit if we were to go to another town. So if we found old and we bought some tobacco, we know even if we bought it here, it would sell for $45. You have some color indicators down here. So red means that a resource is illegal here. Well, we don't see that in any of the goods that are currently being offered. I don't think goods can be sold in the town where they normally be illegal, but if we had one in our hold, it would be marked red. The normal colored goods like these can be normally traded, and then if they're grayed out, and when I say they're grayed out, the entirety of the selection is grayed out, this town is not interested in buying it. They could sell it to you, but they're not interested in buying it from you. So that means that they'll take it for no price. No price at all will you be able to sell it. We go and take a look at the trade office. You have to set up a trade office to buy certain goods and to sell items in a town. And trade offices will cost various amounts, I think, based upon the towns that you're setting them up in. You can also buy a warehouse here, which allows you to have a capacity where you can put tonnage of goods in. I haven't really played around with this too much. Mostly, I've just focused on my own ship. But I could see possibly if you had multiple ships and you were trying to hoard certain goods, maybe there'd be a point in this. We've already been at the warehouse. The tavern is where you can buy captains. So that captain screen we saw earlier, we have a couple different captains available to hire here. So we've got a smuggler and a slaver. Now, captains are going to have skills, and they're going to be at various levels. The level of that skill gives you a set bonus. So this guy gives us a 5% success chance to smuggling. And then the slaver has a minus 20% running cost. I'm not sure. Let's see. I guess that's just running costs overall. So probably both of these guys would be decent. The higher fee is based upon the skill level. So level 1 is at $100, level 2 is at $200, and so on. The salary is also based upon the level, so that will double per level. So as you can see, it's doubled for a level 2. If there was a level 3, then it would double again, and so on. So you kind of get the idea there. At least maybe it doubles, maybe it goes up by 20. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see that for sure maybe later. And you can only have one captain per ship. So we only have one ship, so we'd only want one captain. So I'm actually interested in probably doing both of these. I'm going to go ahead and hire a smuggler because we might take a smuggling job at some point just to showcase how that works. So I'll go ahead and hire the smuggler here. And then we need, after purchasing him, we need to assign him to a ship. So we've done so. Okay, if we go and take a look at the industries, I haven't really taken a look too much at this screen, and this is one thing that was not explained in the tutorial at all, but I think it gives you an idea of what's going on in this town. So there's a cigar factory, which I'm guessing is using the tobacco to make various goods. So this gives us an idea of kind of what goods are wanted here, and we may be able to use that knowledge to develop things later. And then we have the shipyard. Here we can buy ships if there are any available. And the ships available may not have full starting health. So we see this Bermuda sloop does not have full starting health. We see its cargo capacity is at 100. We see its upkeep per month, how many cannons it has, how many knot speed it has. So this looks like it's a little bit of an upgrade over that schooner that we saw before, how much it's going to cost. So that's beyond our price, or how much we can afford. And then you have your delivery time. So if we were to buy this, we'd get it immediately. We have an Indiaman, greater cargo capacity than what we have. We have 400. This has 500. It has more upkeep, as we can see. Cannons, 10 out of 12. So we can have double this many cannons. So this has a greater cargo capacity, but not as many cannons as we could possibly have. It has the same speed that we have, 8 knots. And then asking price, immediate, so on. If we continue to go down here, we see Corvette, not as much cargo capacity, but it's a pretty fast ship, and it can have a lot of cannons. So this is a good ship for combat. You have a frigate, which is going to be a really good ship for combat. Cargo capacity is not as great as some of the other ships, but it's a decent speed ship, and it can have a maximum of 30 cannons. But we see delivery day time would be 14 days. Now, as I said earlier, you can have more than one ship, so we could run this ship in addition to our other ship. And then we have a heavy frigate, which is a bigger ship, bigger versions of this ship. So it has a more cargo capacity. It has more possible cannons, maximum. It does cost more to run. It's the same speed, though, so that's pretty good. Probably the heavy frigate is the heaviest ship in the game. I'm not for sure on that. You can also repair ships here, sell them, and get upgrades. Now, upgrades are going to be dependent upon the town. So here we have 2 upgrades. We have bronze cannons. Bronze cannons are going to allow us to attack more effectively. So we do more damage. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We have greater range. Copper sheathing gives us more protection. And we can buy cannons here. So they're 500 a piece to buy, and they're 250 a piece to sell. So why don't we buy a few cannons here? Let's buy up to 12. So that cost us a couple thousand to do that. And I'm going to have to be careful with my money in this early stage of the game. Okay, so we've been through everything there is in a city. Now let's go through the rest of our tabs. So we've got captains. Now we see the captain that we've hired. We have colonies. I have no idea what this is for because this is something that the tutorial did not go over, and I've never ever seen anything in here. It always just says nothing to see here for the time being. We have loans and investments. We can take a loan, and for that, you just choose how much you want to pay or how much you want to take. Interest rate, I've always seen a flat rate. I'm not sure. Maybe more loans, you get a higher interest rate. You have your monthly payment, and you can bring that out over the months, and then your monthly payment will go down. You can have 3 loans at a time, and our max amount is $15,000. I don't know if that's per loan or total. As far as investments, this is where you can trade stocks, so you can buy shares at the given value, and you can set up a portfolio. We don't have a portfolio, but if we wanted to, we could buy and sell stocks. This is not something I've really messed with, and from what I understand, what it did say in the tutorial about this, what little it did say, was you can affect these different companies if you can figure out where they are and what they are trading. You can help them out and possibly drive up the value of their shares. So if we figured out where Continental Coal Co. was, which is probably in this town here, we could buy a bunch of shares and then start trying to help this company to succeed and maybe drive its share values up. And from there, we have notifications. We don't have anything right now because we just started. We have victory conditions. We did, it doesn't really matter because we're in sandbox mode. Contracts. Now, this is where you can do more or less fetch quests. There's going to be 3 types here. Actually, transport diplomatic party. This is not one I've seen before. So what do we do? Send a diplomatic party to discuss some affairs that are relevant to our nation. All right, so we just go from one town to another. And then if we succeed, we get this amount in green. If we fail, we pay a penalty of this amount in red. So that's kind of weird that the amount you get is a lot less than the amount you pay. And then there's always a time limit. So that you're going to have to be mindful of your time limit because if it expires, you pay the penalty. Transport goods. There's going to be goods in one town. You pick them up and you bring them to another town. So we see Christchurch is one town where we can do a mission. So we're going to want to figure out where this other town is and decide from that if that's something we can do in 53 days. Pays decently, so it might be worth it. Let's go ahead and figure that out right now. So if I type the G key, I can get that up and we can start typing in the name of the town. So there we have it. So I can hit enter now and we'll jump to it. Now this is more useful for traveling because I would just right mouse button as I've selected a ship, which I can do now. And you can see the ship is queued that to move. We shouldn't be moving though because we should be paused, but I'm noticing that it does give us a speed here. So we see that Christchurch and Old are another island away. That might be hard to do. How long does it say? It would take us 34 days, it's saying, at the current speed. Now, we would be traveling with the wind, so that's possible to do. You know what? Why don't we go ahead and take that contract and see if we can do it. So I'm going to click on the contract office, and I'm going to accept the Christchurch to Old mission. And now that I've done that, we see that that's over here, which gives us a summary of what we need to do and what our reward is. What are other things that we can do? Well, we've got transport passengers. Again, you go from one town to another. And transport goods is where, okay, it's not actually giving us, okay, smuggling, this is different. So this is something where you're bringing a good to a city that is illegal in that city. And we can showcase what cities have what illegal in a little bit here. But what we need to do is get 15 tons of opium and bring it to this town. And then we have to smuggle it in because it's illegal to trade that good there. If we do that, we get 22,000 and we have 88 days to do that. We can also gather resources, which is a little bit different. It's not going from town to town. It's find a good, so fabric, get that much in tonnage, and then bring it to Ferrara. And then you get the reward, which is pretty much the same way the smuggling mission goes. You need 15 tons of opium. Get it wherever you can get it, bring it to this town, and sell it. So the other ones where you're transporting things, you're going from one city to another, just like what we're doing here. So we're going to click on Christchurch. And now we have goods available. So we're going to load that. When it is something that is for a mission, it's always just going to be load and unload. So once we get to the destination, we're going to want to unload. Now, unfortunately, there's no goods that I want to buy here as far as I'm concerned. But if we were to want to know where prices are and what we can expect in various towns, first off, we do have stats and competitors. I'm not going to really worry about that. You have your list of ships. So if we had more than one ship, this is how we would select them. we can go to goods and prices. Now, this is where we can see the prices of things in various towns. So we know that there's tobacco here. So let's click on that. So we can see sell price, buy price. Now, sell price is the price you'll get if you sell it. Buy price is how much it costs you to buy. So we're in Christchurch. We know the buying price is $45 because we're already here. And then we have the sell price of $41. So if we had tobacco in a hold right now, that's the price we would get. So we know if we bought 45 tobacco and we were able to get to this town, that it would be selling for 55. But more than likely, this is based off of a rumor. You don't actually have a trade office here. As a matter of fact, it's designating that. So we see that it is grayed out. So we don't actually know what this price is. We just have a guess on what the price is. And that's just rumors that we've heard. If we set up a trade office, we'd get a little bit more accurate information. So Christchurch here, we are actually in that city, and we might already have a trade office open. I'm not exactly sure. So we know exactly how much tobacco they have. We know exactly what kind of prices they're going for. If we go to a good like opium, for example, we see that some cities, it's red. That means that it's illegal there. We also see some areas where we could buy it from. So if we went to Ferrara, we could buy opium, and it would cost $385. Now we can also see that if we sold it in Christchurch, the town we're in right now, it would go for $706. We can see a pretty big profit margin if we were to able to go to Ferrara, buy a bunch of opium, and then sell it in Christchurch. And it's not illegal in Christchurch, so that would be a pretty easy profit margin to get. And we can also get an idea of how much there is here. So there's 0 to 10. So the one mission we had was, I think, deliver 15 opium. So it's not likely Ferrara will have that much opium. And we don't have enough knowledge to really, I think there's one other town we know of that may have it, and it may have enough, but we have no idea how much it's going for. Now, if we look at the cities, we just get a list of the cities and what is going on there as far as industries and goods they may have. And then finally, we have countries. Now, this is going to divide the various cities into countries, and this is where we can easily see where things are going to be illegal. So we are going to Old here, right? And it's part of this country, so Strongshore. If we look over in the economy info, you'll see normal and then events. Now, the events, if we mouse over them, we see bans. So in Strongshore, cigars are banned. If we look over here, we see opium and rum is banned, and so on. Now, I don't know if these are things that shift over time or not. We also have a relationship with the countries. This will be important later, and I will go over it in more detail later. But I don't know what else it does beyond just, you have good relations or bad relations. As far as some of these other things, you can have peaceful relationships, you can have war. Again, I don't know what bearing that has on the game. I think there's been talk of blockades and things on towns because of war. But in any case, we have our 31 goods. Maybe worth going to Campbelltown just to see what's in there. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and unpause until we get to the town. Now, I'm sure that it's possible that there are short keys to the different speeds, but I haven't figured them out, and it's not something that the tutorial went over. But now we're in Campbelltown. We can click here and we can see what kind of goods they have. So beer is being sold at 107 here. That's exactly the average. So if we were to take that Ferrara, we'd get good prices. Fish, this is being sold at the highest price here. Grain at 16 is exactly average. Sugar is being sold at 31, which is, again, exactly average. And then tobacco is being sold at 48, which we already know that's not particularly a good price. So out of these, we can get grain cheaply. I might want to buy some of this just to do it so that we've got some goods in the hold. I'm also going to take a look at the shipyard because we have the ability to maybe get upgrades here. So cargo hold optimization. Just expand our cargo hold. And then we have cotton sales, which I believe makes us faster. We already have that, though, so we don't need to really worry about that. And let's just go back to the warehouse then. And I think we're going to want... Also, there are some goods you cannot buy unless you have a trade office. I think their names will be grayed out. We don't see anything here that matches that. But I'm going to go ahead and buy some grain. And if I click this Buy Max button, I'll buy as much as I can hold. Or if I just hit Buy, I will... oh, it is saying I need a trade office here. All right, we'll set one up, but that is going to cost me a fair amount. And then we get a slider and we can buy as much as we want. So I'm just going to cancel that and I'll buy max. All right, so now we have goods to sell. So if we can get a better price than what we bought them for, so we bought them for 16, it will always let us know what we bought it for. We will be able to sell that. So I'm just going to go ahead and go on to the next town here. And we'll just keep doing that until we get down to old. I mean, I figure that's on the way. And once we're in, I'll pause. Because we don't want to waste time. Alright, so grain is being bought for 12 here. So that would be a drop in our profit. I mean, you know, we don't want to sell here. And we already have a full cargo hold, so I think we just move on at this point. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. It may take us a little bit out of our way, but I'm going to go to Menholzhofen, because I may be right. They may... Well, it looks like they produce grain. Alright. Let's go ahead and speed up time here a little bit. So this is a lot of what the game is. Now, combat works pretty simple. As we get close here, you'll see this guy's highlighted in red. First off, we can click on him and find some things about him. So he is holding, I believe that's rum, 27 tons of rum in his cargo hold. If I were to attack him, I could possibly take that amount. And how I do that is I hit the control key and I left mouse button. Combat's pretty simple, and I'm not going to get into it right this second, but it is something we'll do a little bit later in the video. And how many days do we have left on our thing? 39 days. Okay. We're making good time because the wind's in our direction. Okay, so we're here. Looks like grain sell for 18, so it's only a slight profit, but we'll go ahead and sell it because this is burning a hole in my... Oh, actually, no, we had cargo space. Maybe I could have bought some goods in that last town. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sell, but to sell, we have to set up a trade office. So this is where you can run into trouble with your money, but we'll go ahead and do that. And now we can buy some other goods. So paper's being sold for slightly below average. Grain is being sold for above average. That's not a bad price for coffee. Books are being sold at their least expensive here, so that might be worth picking up. It is very expensive, though. And let's see, rum. Now we have to worry about it being illegal in certain spots. It's only slightly above average. We've got sugar. That's as expensive as it gets. It's probably because they're turning the sugar into rum. They need sugar. And then we have wood. This is being sold slightly below average. We could pick up wood, and this would fill my cargo hold. We already have a trade office, so why not? So I bought as much as I could afford, and I'm going to probably have to take a loan. This is maybe not the best start, but go ahead and take a loan of, let's say, $5,000, and we'll bring that out to 36 months. I'm going to go ahead and accept, and then I'm going to go back into this town, and we'll go ahead and buy up more wood. Okay, so we have 3,000 in the bank, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to Bubendorf, and we'll move on our way. Now, once we get to old, we'll get some money, and we'll be a little bit better off. And we've got 37 days to get there, so we're not doing too bad. I mean, we're traveling at 11 knots because we've got the wind right behind us. I believe our ship has an advantage to be sailing with the wind, which is why we're moving much higher than our normal top speed. As a matter of fact, we're hitting 12 knots at this point. I just want to see what this ship has in its hold. So it's got silk and grain. If we were to get into this town and then immediately turn around, we could attack them and try and take those goods. So let's go into Bubendorf, and I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, we can sell wood for a profit margin here. It's only $6 a pop, but And we do have to set up a trade office, which costs us 4,000. So that means I'm going to have to set up another loan, unfortunately. It looks like. So I will go ahead and do that. We only need 4,000, so I'll take that and I'll divide that up a little bit. We'll accept. It still seems the same interest rate. Okay, let's go back into Bubendorf. Now, I will point out in my initial playthrough, I didn't have to take any loans, but I was probably taking things a little bit more slowly and more carefully. All right, so let's sell. Let's set up the trade office. We do get money for setting up trade offices. I think, get certain points where you'll get rewards for setting up more and more trade offices, and that kind of paid for itself almost. We needed the money to do it in the first place, but now we're not looking so bad. We're actually having more money than we started with. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have on as far as goods. So grain's being sold at 16, which is exactly average. Fish is being sold for 32. We could buy rum here. That's a pretty good price for rum, and rum is illegal, so we could try and do a little bit of smuggling. So let's take a look at who has that illegal. So if I take a look on the countries, is anywhere rum legal? And it looks like it is illegal in this particular country and also this country. So if we go back to Christchurch, rum is illegal there. And there's a couple other towns. So yellow and green. I think that may be green there, right? Yeah, okay. So we're not too far away from where rum is illegal. So it's possible it would sell for a good price there. So let's go ahead and pick some up. Now there is a trick to smuggling. Usually smaller ships have an easier time sneaking past the customs, for a lack of a better term. But there's other things you can do to increase your chances. One thing you can do is you can try and hide it amongst legit goods. So what I'd probably do is I'd buy, let's say, the grain, because that's an average price. That's not too bad. So let's buy, oh, I didn't mean to buy all. Oh, well, I bought all. Let's go ahead and then fill out the rest of our cargo hold with grain. So we're going to be hiding the rum that we have with the grain. Now, it's possible there may be a mission in the contracts to transfer rum. We can look really quickly. So we're going to want to look for smuggling jobs. Okay, opium, that's it. So there's no rum job, but that's okay. So now all we need to do is keep moving here. Now I could attack this guy and taken his goods, but I'm not going to do that just yet. We're going to do, and we see rum illegal. We have that in our hold. So to go into that port, we're going to have to sneak past. All right. So let's just get to our destination here and get our reward. We don't have much in the bank. I might have to take another loan here, which I'm not a big fan of, but because we have so much a month that we're paying out, I'll just take a small loan and we'll make it that. Again, I didn't have to take a single loan in my first playthrough. Okay, so there's a colony location. See, this is one thing I hadn't seen. What's that about? New colony. Is interested in allowing your company to build a new settlement in this position. What type of colony would you like to build? All right, building cost is really high, so this is something we're going to have to watch out for in the future. But I have a feeling that this is going to give you goods that you can go and trade, is pretty much how that works. Seems like, again, this is not something they covered in the tutorial at all. All right, and we're going to want to keep our grain to try and sneak past. Okay, so now we're in here. We can unload our goods, and we get our reward. So we're not doing too bad. We may want to fill out more of our cargo hold with goods to hide our rum. So we're going to be looking for good prices. So sugar's not good on average. Oh, there's more rum here, and might even be, yeah, it was a better price here than it was at the other place. Iron's on average. Grain's being sold for 16, which is exactly how much we bought it for before. Fish is being sold for under average, so I'll buy that. I mean, it's just relatively cheap good, and we'll buy, oh, of course we need 4,000 to set up. You know what? I'm not going to do that. because I don't have that much cash and we've already been taking loans like crazy. Let's just go ahead and move over to this city. If I see a ship on the way, I'll attack them and take their cargo perhaps to fill out the rest of my cargo hold. But let's go ahead and move. Now, the galleon is not ideal for smuggling, but I'm just doing this to showcase how it works. They're going to speed up here so we can get over to the town. Do we have an idea of where this would sell for better? So if we go to rum, as a matter of fact, this does look like one of the better places to sell, 413. So let's move in. There's a ship there. What do they have in their hold? They've got 80 pieces of paper. Now, I don't have enough cargo hold space to take advantage of that, but what I could do is try and intercept here. And if we get close enough, I'll be able to attack them. Yeah, it looks like they're coming right on me. All right, let's go ahead and do combat now. This is probably my least favorite part of the game. Okay, so... Oh, actually, hold on. Let's see what they are first. So... They are a schooner with no cannon, so likely they will not put up a fight. But I'll probably fight them anyway, so... One thing I'll highlight, attacking another company's ships will greatly damage your company's reputation. Ships are about to attack this and so on. So to battle. So they're asking for mercy. They do not want to fight because they don't have any capacity to fight. So do I accept? I'm going to say no because I want to fight them. All right, so this is combat. It's very, very simple. It's hex-based and it is turn-based. So I have two actions. That means I can move twice. So there's once... There's twice. There's my turn. When you attack, and you can only attack when you're in range, you immediately end your turn. So maneuvering is really not that important. You'd think with a fast maneuverable ship, you'd have some advantages because you could fire and then maybe get out of range. Nope, doesn't work that way. Okay, and they have no cannons, so there's not really a whole lot they can do. Now, I can try and knock down their sails to slow them down. But I'm going to move first because we already discussed that will end my turn. Now, if I moved again, I wouldn't get to fire. Now I'm going to fire. So you have two choices. You have normal cannonballs, which will do 50 to 90 damage, or you have the chain ball, which is going to do 24 to 40 damage and slow them for the rest of the battle. So let's do that. Okay, we've slowed them down. I don't know if it's possible for them to run away. And now we're just going to hammer them with our cannons. And they're not going to fight back because they don't have any means to. And this is it. It doesn't matter what your positioning of your ship is. Arcs don't matter. Your ship will always rotate to face the enemy. And that's it. It's so simplistic. It might as well not even be there. In my opinion, it's just a very terrible system. And we can see that now all of the cities or all the countries don't like me very much. If you keep doing that, eventually they will refuse to trade with you. So it markets this game as a game where you can do piracy. There's literally no point, in my opinion, to doing it, and you're actually punished for doing it because eventually you won't be able to trade any of the goods that you steal. I mean, yeah, I stole 10 paper, but so what if I can't trade it anywhere? All right, so let's go ahead and go into the port now that we've messed around with the combat system. And that's all the combat system is. You can have more ships involved, but, I mean, it doesn't really change the mechanics. It's very simple combat system that, there's things that could be done to modify it. First off, making arcs matter, making it more strategic would make the system way better. But right now, the way the system is, it is so simple, it's not very good. All right, so this is the whole smuggling thing. So to come into the port, I have to sneak in. And there's a lot of modifiers that affect that. So I have 32 tons of rum, which is illegal in this city. What do you want to do? I don't know what happens if I get caught. We'll find out. But you have your base success chance of 40. You have your ship modifier because I have a big ship. It's not a very easy thing to sneak through. You have your captain modifier, which is 5% because we have a smuggler. Cargo hold modifier, this is because we have legal goods in our cargo hold that kind of covers it up. Then you have a city size modifier. I don't know you know, how that comes into play, because it doesn't give you any information or feedback there. But I guess some cities are easier to smuggle things into than others, and maybe based off of their size, bigger cities have bigger bonuses because they just have too much going on to notice you. We only have a 40% chance, but I'm going to try it anyway. Okay, your ship was inspected by the port authorities and found your contraband. The cargo has been seized and your company must now pay a fine. All right, that's what happens. So it sucks. I mean, we lost a lot of profit there, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to the game, what I've just showed you. You go from one town to another trying to sell goods for a profit. You can do piracy, but there's not really that much of an advantage in doing so. Yeah, so I don't have a good enough relationship now because of the piracy I did. So, I mean, right there, I mean, why would I do piracy? Because it makes my ability to continue to make profits pretty much non-existent. I can't set up a trade office to do trade there. And eventually, even if I had a trade office, I wouldn't be able to trade there because they hate me so much. So that one act of piracy I did has screwed me. Now, maybe if there's a war going on, you could take advantage of one side over another and you know, use things that way. But I mean, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all there is to the game. Yeah, you can set up colonies and everything, but you just go from one place to another. You trade goods. Now, in this particular playthrough, I'm not doing very well, but in the other playthrough I was doing, it got to the point where I was doing so well, the game was boring. Once you start making enough money from the game, from trading, the game gets boring really quick. There's not a whole lot to do. You just pick up goods from one place where it's a good sell price and you take it to another. And because the procedurally generated islands, it's really luck of the draw of whether you get a good set of islands where you can easily trade things back and forth without having to move a lot. Maybe that's why my first playthrough was so good, because I lucked out with a good generation where I could immediately do contracts, and it was really easy to pull those contracts off because it was literally taking goods from like one town to another town on the same island, just a very short distance away. And I could sell goods that were only a couple towns away from each other for a good profit, and I just racked up money really quickly, and then the game got really boring because there wasn't much else to it. The combat might as well not even be in the game, and you know, the trade, I mean, yeah, it's got this economic system, but how in-depth it is, you know, I'm not really sure. Maybe it has fluctuating prices and stuff, and you have to have trade offices to have a good idea of what prices are and be moving around and what have you. But to me, it just seems like a really overly simple game that gets boring really fast. And that's pretty much my impression of the game. And after playing it for maybe an hour or two, I've already lost interest. And that's kind of where I am on things. So in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.